Well, as Jim Carter says in Romeo and Juliet, it's about this nurse. Um, my part in it is to play Bertie, George VI, on the occasion of the first ever state visit to North America by a reigning British monarch, because they'd had that spot of bother 2 centuries earlier, and nobody had gone back. So there's a lot of... we're on the eve of what turns out to be the Second World War, and Britain needs to know that it has an ally in America. And there are a lot of people in America who don't like Britain, particularly because Wallis Simpson, a twice divorced American heiress, has just forced the last king to abdicate in many British people's eyes. And we don't know how it's going to go, and we go to see Roosevelt for the weekend at his country cottage with his wife and mother and some other very strange people, and we do our best to try and get his support should the unthinkable happen, which of course it does. Roger's a very specific director with an amazing eye for detail. I mean, I direct a little on stage myself, and one of the things that actors say to you that makes you think you're not messing them around is you seem to know what you wanted. And you could certainly say that about Roger. But he's so attentive that when he gives you a note, you want to try it. And because we're not working on a television schedule, you know, we might get 5 or 6 takes, maybe 8 or 9, rather than 1 or 2. So you often have a chance to hone or perfect something in ways that he likes, and then if he's got what he wants, he often gives you a chance just to mess it up at the end and just do something that's much freer. Also, there's something that Bill does that I really like on reverses that he was doing in our long scene the other day, where instead of just sort of sitting there and obediently saying the lines, he slightly altered them or played with them, which is throwing in a really good way, because when it comes to your close-up, you think, oh, this is the bit where I do this, and that's not really what happens. You should be reacting to what's happening in front of you. And because Bill was playing with his responses and adding little words and taking things away and slightly surprising me, it was much fresher, and I really liked that, and I thought, I must take that away, I'm going to use that. We met quite late, actually. We met in rehearsals, and she was coming from a job and I was coming from a job. I think it was a relationship that was really incredibly important to Bertie. Everybody who met her said how remarkable the Queen was at smiling, actually. She said, you know, she would smile, and Eleanor Roosevelt said she would smile at a crowd, and everybody in the crowd would think she was smiling just at them. Or she would wave, and you would think the wave was meant for you. And that's quite a trick. I mean, it may be a trick, but obviously she had something, you know, even though when she went there was this terrible article, this Scrivener's article, which I've read and is very hard-hitting for a queen in a new country, saying she's a tad overweight, and you know, if you were trying to choose 2 people to sell the idea of the monarchy to the American people, the King and Queen of England are the 2 last people you would choose. I mean, really kind of horrible stuff, bad press. And they made the mistake of reading their own reviews, which can't have been a good idea, just before opening night, as it were. But I think she's a brilliantly funny and truthful actor, and you know, I've admired her work enormously, and she's delightful to work with. There's this thing of the 2 of them sort of rather like Roosevelt and Bertie, actually, the 2 of them being kind of limping weirdies who go off into the sunset together, but happy in their own marriage. I think they were very much sustained by the children they'd managed to bring up. I think family was it was the beginning of the idea of the royal family as family, rather than as status symbols or figureheads. And because they'd had this childhood where the kids didn't think they were going to be queen, or Elizabeth didn't, then they'd had a really nice life. You know, lots of dogs, lots of exercise, not too much schooling, and I think, you know, there's that sort of simple straightforwardness about Olivia's performance which is so touching. I think she's got it to a T.